right, gentlemen, it's a couple minutes after 7, so we're going to go ahead and call the meeting here to order. Just going to work on getting me the sign-in sheet. Now take a roll call to determine if we have a quorum. So Board Member McVeigh.
Present. Board
Member Rolfe.
Present.
And Board Member Whalen. Myself, I'm present, so we do have a quorum. In front of us are the prior meetings minutes from April 22nd. If you want to take a moment to review so, and I will open the floor for a motion to approve the minutes. Oh, I'm sorry, March 25th, correct. Yes. I said April 22nd. That's today. Good catch.
I propose a motion to approve.
Second?
I second it. I make a motion to the second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Nay. It passes. Move along. I don't think there's any postponements of any scheduled business items, correct? We're all good. Normally, but now moving forward, before we'd open a public hearing, I'd kind of walk through the public hearing procedures, but seeing that staff is the only one here today, no one from the public, the applicant included, are not here. So why don't we just go ahead and open up the public hearing? And we have today 4 separate requests, and I believe we're going to do one first, and then 2 and 3 together, and then the 4th as a third item, correct?
Yes, staff does have.
Could you turn your mic on, please? Thanks.
Yep, sorry. Staff does have one update though. The third variance request, which was the side yard setback, upon further internal discussion, that variance is not necessary. Accessory structures and primary structures are looked at separately and not together, which was staff's initial impression. So variance 3 is not needed for the property.
Okay, so just 1 as a separate item, 2 as a separate, and then 4 as a
correct.
Separate. Okay, perfect. And I'll still identify that as 1, 2, 4,
okay.
if that works. So okay. So the only one I have signed in, Cody here from staff to speak, and Cody already at the podium. If you would, I need to swear you in. Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear to or affirm that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, thank you. The floor is yours.
Chairman, before we start, could we please read into the public the portion of the agenda, including the request?
Yes. The first item, BOA-24-0008, the address of 412 Hallam Avenue, applicant Brian O'Hara. The request is number 1, a conditional use request for an accessory dwelling unit. Number 2, a variance request to reduce the required rear yard setback. The third has been struck, and the 4th, for the accessory dwelling unit to exceed the height of the primary structure of the Erlanger zoning ordinance. Very good. Go ahead, Cody.
Yep. Notifications were made per KRS 100. Were there any declarations of conflict to declare?
Nope.
Okay. And were any site visits performed?
Nope. No.
Okay. I would like to submit the following records, which were submitted electronically for the record. So thank you for the record. My name is Cody Sheets with PDS staff. As the chair stated, there's 1 conditional use request and 2 variance requests before you tonight. The applicant is proposing to build a 780 square foot detached garage with an accessory dwelling unit on the 2nd story. The garage will be 10 feet from the rear property line in common with 3227 Dixie Highway, where 25 feet is required. And the 4th request is the proposed garage and accessory dwelling unit will be 23 feet, 11 7/8 inches, where the principal structure has an average height of 17 feet. So here we have an aerial view of the property. It's highlighted in turquoise. You can see the applicant's primary structure there. They are proposing to build the two-story garage and accessory structure or accessory dwelling unit or ADU in what would be the northeast corner. The property in question is 0.36 acres. The surrounding area consists mostly of single-family residential homes. There is a large cemetery to the north, and what butts up to the applicant's property is primarily a wooded area. So here we have a Google Street View of the property. This is from November 2020. It's looking northeast from Hallam Avenue. The proposed two-story garage would go in that rear corner there. Just kind of where those bushes are. This is an eagle view of the property. This is going to be from 2023. This is looking west, northwest, southwest. And here we have the property highlighted in red. And again, the garage and proposed ADU would go in that bottom corner there. The site is zoned residential compact subdivision or RCPS. The surrounding area is primarily RCPS, residential conventional subdivision, and institutional, which is what the cemetery to the north is. As previously stated, the existing land use is single-family residential. The surrounding area is primarily single-family residential as well, and just to the north is going to be institutional. Here we have these submitted site plans. This was turned in by the applicant. In red, we have the highlighted property boundary. In blue, we have the applicant's existing home. Highlighted in green, we have the proposed two-story garage and accessory dwelling unit. Again, it'll be 10 feet from the rear property line where 25 feet is required. And highlighted in blue is the existing sewer line, which runs through the rear yard and does divide that in half. These were elevations which were submitted by the applicant. They are showing vinyl siding on the exterior with fiberglass asphalt shingles on the roof. The existing trim materials will match the existing house to the best of availability and resources, and the gutter board and gutter downspouts will match the existing home as well. And we have some more elevations here. These were submitted floor plans that were turned in by the applicant. On the left, we have the foundation, which will be 26 by 30 feet. In the middle, we have the first floor, which includes the garage being the primary area, mechanical room to the back there, and stairs to the accessory dwelling unit. And on the second floor, we have the proposed accessory dwelling unit, which includes a bathroom, bedroom, living room, and kitchen as well. So the first request before you is a conditional use request for an ADU. That is a conditionally permitted use within the RCPS zone. Just to get a couple definitions out of the way, an ADU is defined as a residential dwelling unit located on the same lot as a single-family dwelling unit, either within the same building or in a detached building. In this case, it would be within a detached building. An accessory structure or use is defined as one being subordinate in area, extent, and purpose to the principal use that contributes to the comfort, convenience, or necessity of the principal use and is located on the same lot and in the same zoning district as the principal use. Each use does have specific standards which it must abide by. In the case of accessory dwelling units, there are quite a few that the accessory dwelling unit must follow. There can be only one. They may only be established on lots with a size equal to or greater than 5,000 square feet. In this case, being 0.36 acres, it's roughly 15,000 square feet is the size of the lot. Setbacks for detached ADUs shall conform to setbacks for other accessory structures. The maximum size of an accessory dwelling unit is 75% of the living area of the primary dwelling unit, or 800 square feet, whichever is less. In this case, 800 square feet would be the lesser, but the accessory dwelling unit is smaller than that. We'll see in the fourth request, but the ADU shall not exceed the height of the primary structure. And then another key point is that the property owner shall occupy either the primary dwelling unit or the ADU. The primary dwelling unit is currently a rental unit, but the applicant has indicated the intent to live in the accessory dwelling unit in the future. So you, the board, shall have the power to hear and decide applications for conditional use permits in compliance with the applicable sections of KRS 100. Before any conditional use request is granted, the board must find that the plan is in compliance with KRS 100. Conditional use is defined within KRS 100 as a use which is essential to or would promote the public health, safety, or welfare in one or more zones, but which would impair the integrity and character of the zone in which it is located or in an adjoining zone unless restrictions on location, size, extent, and character of the performance are imposed in addition to those imposed in the zoning regulation. KRS 100.237 states that the board shall have the power to approve or deny applications for conditional use permits or attach necessary requirements before the request can be initiated. Staff is giving a favorable recommendation to the request, subject to the condition that the applicant provides proof within a time period not to exceed 1 year from the date of approval that they are residing in either the primary dwelling unit or the accessory dwelling unit. The ordinance requires that the property owner shall occupy either the primary dwelling unit or the accessory dwelling unit. With the accessory dwelling unit currently being a rental, that is not being fulfilled. The applicant must occupy either the primary dwelling unit or the accessory dwelling unit in order to abide by the ordinance, and must provide proof that they are residing in one of the dwelling units in order to be in compliance with the ordinance. Requiring proof within a time period not to exceed 1 year after approval is consistent with KRS 100.237, which allows the board to attach time limitations on any conditional use permit. Staff finds that the application as conditioned will provide additional housing options within the community, which are needed at this time. They also allow the property owner to receive a potential income stream from the property if they do continue to rent out the primary structure.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sheets. So I think we're going to, as again, we're going to take these one at a time. So for the first request, any comments, questions for Mr. Sheets?
I have a question in regards to how do you say that he has to show proof that he's living in one of the two buildings. How do we confirm that that is being done? And what happens if the property, we'll say, is sold? Does this convey over to the new owners of the buildings?
Yeah, so a conditional use permit can be pulled, at which point it would no longer be in compliance. So if it was sold and the new owner wasn't living in one of the structures, it could be pulled. Also, if the applicant was found to not be living in one of the structures, it could be pulled as well. Discussion as to what proof could look like was a topic. He could show a driver's license, for example, or a utility bill, something that would establish proof the same way you would if you were trying to show residency at the primary structure.
So follow-up question on that. He owns the primary residence, the applicant that is.
Correct.
And it's currently a rental unit. Okay, correct. So I would imagine, would not the bills, utilities be in his name, that he could use that to show residency, even though he's clearly not living there? And then follow up, will this accessory unit, dwelling unit, have a separate address, or will it be the same as the primary residence?
Yeah, he could show, I mean, ideally a driver's license would be the best way to show it. If he was paying the bills at the rental unit, I mean, it would be under his name and it would look like he does have ownership then.
Okay. Go ahead.
But at the same time, though, even though he may have a bill in his name, doesn't necessarily mean that he lives there, though. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
And when you say that the condition permit would be pulled, what does that look like and what happens to the properties? Does he have to take any action as far as removing them or taking them down, or where does it go from there?
Right, if somebody continued to live there with the conditional use permit pulled, it would be in non-compliance. He could start to receive citations and fines for that.
Any other questions for staff?
Ultimately, then, would that mean that he would have to vacate the buildings or something if he can't prove that he is living there? Or exactly what happens to the dwelling?
It would have to be vacated, correct?
Okay.
I think one of the concerns that, and tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm reading in between the lines correctly, is that both of these units become rental units, whether it's with the applicant or in the future to a new owner, and how does that all play out? At least that's how I'm kind of thinking this through. And any other comments or something we may have missed along those lines?
It is certainly a valid concern. I mean, there is, some degree of honor system, I guess. It could be abused, certainly. Again, if the property were to change hands, it would fall on the new owner to prove, a proof of residency.
Thank you. Any other questions before we, I guess I would, because the applicant is not here, I would then close the public comment, restrict it to the board, and then reopen again, and we'll do that accordingly, correct? All right, so I will go ahead and close the public comment portion of the hearing and open up to board discussion amongst ourselves. Any concerns other than what has already been aired, or thoughts?
I have no further comment.
Well, yeah, other than, what we've discussed is it's without the applicant here to speak for themselves about their plans. They did submit a letter, which was part of the intent of the applicant of what they were going to do with the property. And I think you even mentioned, Cody, in your comments that the owner shall plans to live in one of the buildings in the future. What's the future? 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, that's concerning to me. So that's, without them here to clarify that's one of the concerns I have on what, the ambiguousness of the future is. But yeah, go ahead.
What about the time limit in order to build the dwelling? Do they have to have it done within 6 months, within a year, so that it is occupied within a year, or how does that work?
With the recommended condition that staff had, the dwelling unit would have to be constructed within a year in order for them to prove that they lived there.
I just got a question. What frequency does he have to prove that he lives there? Is it just a one-time and that's it?
I mean, as conditioned, it would just be one time.
Could we make the condition on this, since it is a conditional use, that they have to confirm or reaffirm their residency every so many months, every so many years, anything like that?
You could.
But what if there was another similar situation on that street or another street? They've lived there for 20 years. Are we going to be constantly asking them to update that? Or do you have sort of time limit and say, okay, he's complied up to, let's say, 5 years as an example, then we don't have to bother him anymore?
Was that a question for just a thought?
Just a thought up, we're trying to figure out exactly the occupancy time. So would this...
So you're saying within the first 5 years of him hopefully and allegedly living in one of the residences, if he's compliant for the first 5 years, then we
Yes.
we're good, and
Yeah.
no more annual follow-up or
That is
whatever you
correct.
want to call it. Yeah, I think that's, can be done. Or any comments?
It's my understanding that you all do have that discretion. That being said, we could, just to throw this out there, we could table this to ensure that we do have that discretion, but it is my understanding that you do have that ability.
Thoughts on, well, I'll put it this way, we can table it, or if someone is so inclined to make a motion, please do so.
If I may add, just because there are the questions that you would like to ask the owner, frankly, the applicant, it may be helpful to table and reach out and tell him that there are questions to be had and that, these are things that you'd like clarified at an upcoming session. I don't think that you'd be, I don't think that would be unreasonable in any way, given his application and the questions that you do have regarding residency and what that could look like in the future.
Yeah, I would tend to agree to give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, you'd hope any applicant would be here to answer questions on what they're looking to do here, but I think that's reasonable to table the motion, or not the motion, but the request. Do we do a vote, or how? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, it would be just as simple as, one of the members making a formal motion to table the application to the next.
I think your mic went off.
Sorry. It would be just as simple as a motion by any member to table this application for the next available meeting date. I would wonder whether we need to go, I would say that we probably need to renotice our service to the neighbors of that meeting, but it would be that simple.
If you're inclined to make a motion?
I make a motion that we table this at the present time until we get more clarification.
Yeah, second.
We've got to do a roll call vote, correct? Board Member McVeigh?
Aye.
Board Member Rolfe?
Aye.
Board Member Whalen? Aye. And so motion will be tabled until the next available hearing. So then, do we need to move to the next request, or in my opinion, I think tabling all of it, right?
That's what I would do. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, all right. All right, very good.
Do we make a motion on that?
We don't have to make a motion on those other two, correct?
I would probably go ahead and make a formal motion to, if your first motion did not explicitly state that the motion dealt with all requests,
Okay,
I would clarify that.
so would you like to amend? I think what you're looking for is to amend your request of BOA 240008 to table all requests until the next available
I
meeting.
make a motion to table it until a new date can be established.
And John McVeigh, do you want a second?
Yeah, second.
All right, Mr. McVeigh, roll call.
Aye.
Mr. Rolfe?
Aye.
And myself, Mr. Whalen, aye. All right. So we will move along to the next thing on the agenda, which will be any preliminary hearings. I don't see anything there. Rehearing appeals, any board items? Board items, anything to discuss? Any staff items? You want Mr. Sheets?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you do have a meeting next month. We did get an application at the end of today, so because it fell on the holiday, that was voted to bump it forward. So that will be on May 20th.
That's right there on the next thing on the agenda, so thank you. May 20th if required, which I assume today's request would be there as well. Would that be bumped to second or bumped to first for next month's meeting? Don't know. Okay, to be determined. All right, anything else? I think that's everything on the agenda. I'll open the floor for a motion to adjourn.
I propose a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned.